TDKB Day everyone, I'm Sophia Lorraine Roque from 10J and this is the content creation of Group 5. We're here to tell you about the types of plate boundaries.
This presentation is all about three different types of plate boundaries. If we say plate boundaries, it is the lines at the edge of the different pieces of lithosphere. Categorization of plate boundaries is based on how two plates move relative to each other. So there are three distinct types of plate boundaries: the divergent plate boundaries, convergent plate boundaries, and transform plate boundaries.
In the case of divergent plate boundaries, two of Earth's plates moving away from each other, spreading centers in areas with new ocean floor generally located at divergent plate boundaries.
An example of divergent plate boundaries is the mid-Atlantic of each. Depending on what type of lithospheric crust each diverging plate is, whether oceanic or continental, varying geographic features are formed.
For example, when two continental plates diverge from each other, an ocean basin is created due to the separation of land. On the other hand, if two oceanic plates diverge, a mid-ocean ridge would form, which is also known as spreading center. Divergent plate boundaries are commonly associated with shallow earthquakes.
When two plates move toward each other, the boundary is known as convergent plate boundary. As previously mentioned, depending on what type of crust each converging plate is, different geographic features are formed. When two continental crusted plates converge, they eventually collide and end up producing mountains. This was how the Himalayan mountains were formed.
Neither continental crust will subduct underneath their similar densities. When two oceanic plates converge, the denser plate will end up sinking below the less dense plate, leading to the formation of an oceanic subduction zone.
When an oceanic plate converges with a continental plate, the oceanic crust will always subduct under the continental crust. This is because oceanic crust is naturally denser. Convergent boundaries are commonly associated with larger earthquakes and higher volcano activity.
Whenever subduction zone is formed, subductive plate will end up being partially melted by the Earth's internal magma molten. This melting leads to heat being transferred upwards and uplifting the crust, eventually developing into a volcano.
Subduction zones are the reason why oceanic crust older than 200 million years could not be found. All dense crust tends to be subducted back into the Earth. An example of a subduction zone formed from a convergent boundary is the Chile-Peru Trench.
The last type of plate boundary is transform plate boundary, which is two plates grinds or slides past one another. These are example picture of transform plate boundaries.
Unlike the other two types of plate boundaries, in which new seafloor is created at divergent boundaries, and where old seafloor is subducted at convergent boundaries, transform plate boundaries create or destroy the seafloor.
The rubbing caused by the sliding is what causes earthquakes along the transform faults. One example would be the San Andreas Fault. Away from each other.
Wow! Ang galing! Perfect. Okay na yan. Dami